My name is Lisa Smyth. The film that you're about to see is based on confidential research interviews carried out in June 2020 in Northern Ireland. The research gathered experiences of caring for a vulnerable family member under lockdown. The film uses drama students to portray the real-life experiences of carers and families using their own words. Names and other details have been changed. There were many stories similar to the ones that we include here, and we're grateful to everyone who participated in the research for sharing their experiences with us.
Hi, my name's Janet. I live with my husband and my 7-year-old son, who has cystic fibrosis. He's shielding, and I've been able to work from home online. We are so thankful that we're shielding, but I suppose it is difficult too. We've gone from being very independent to being almost totally dependent on others, and that's definitely been the biggest transition for us. We're holding on at the mercy of what we're hearing at any specific time. We've not left the house, and that's definitely a struggle at the moment. We're also foster parents. Our foster child was removed from us since we started to shield, so that has been a very difficult thing to cope with, because one day she was here, she was part of our family, and we were thinking she was going to be here for the next 14 to 15 years, and overnight things just changed. As far as she was concerned, this was going to be her forever home. We've not even been able to contact her, and that's been really hard. I imagine equally for her. It took us 6 weeks to get food, and that was a really tough time. We couldn't get supermarket slots, and I ended up writing to every MP I could think of because we just couldn't get food. We were relying on everyone, friends, neighbours, even school friends from 20 years ago came out of the woodwork. Those 6 weeks were absolutely horrendous. And again, especially because of my son's medical needs, he's on a special diet. My husband did break shielding, I think, to get food once, and that was frightening. Even getting medication is difficult. Some of his medication comes from the hospital, some comes from the doctors, and some comes from another health trust. So that's really been difficult. I'm frightened about what's ahead, and it's totally uncertain. I don't know if I'll be able to go back to my job. My manager's already saying how we all need to be making an effort to get back into the office. And I think emotionally my son isn't coping. A part of his treatment is physio, and usually he would be doing sports daily, and now he's doing very little. The hospital have said we can go out for a walk daily as long as we don't meet anybody. And we tried that, and we were so frightened that we just came back. We couldn't do it. Even his monthly hospital visits haven't happened now. I slip between part of me thinking I'm doing as much as I can in a day and thinking I have done absolutely nothing. It's really hard to explain. I make everybody get up in the morning and get showered and get dressed as though we are going to school or going out for work. We've developed this routine out of necessity, and every day we're trying to do something fun. We have had time as a family, and we are grateful for that as well.
My name's Patricia. I'm retired and I live with my elderly mother who has dementia. She has carers who come in 4 times a day. They're absolutely wonderful. They were terrified at the beginning of lockdown, but they're used to it now. And there is a problem with the PPE. It doesn't fit in the bin. I have to get a letter from my GP and then the council will collect 2 bins. And even then, I have to buy the second bin at £45. I just don't understand why the council wouldn't just ask for a list of people receiving this care and then supply us with the second bin. You know, it just seems like such a hassle. Well, my mother suffers from a type of dementia that affects her personality. There's no other word for it really than she can be a right bitch sometimes. She's very difficult. She is calling you for absolutely everything. She can be very nasty sometimes. We used to have, you know, carers that would come in on the regular, but we stopped that because we wanted to try and, you know, stop the extra people coming into the house. It does mean that you don't get a break, which is obviously very difficult with the moods that my mother's in. She doesn't understand the pandemic. She's constantly asking, you know, why is no one coming to see me? Nobody likes me and all this. She does get very down about it. So about a month into all of this, there was a day that we got a relief care to come in, and I noticed her hair and I thought, my goodness, you know, that looks like it's just been done. And so I asked her, I said, you know, do you do your own hair? It's looking awful well. And she said, no, my hairdresser did that. And I freaked out. Every day after the carers leave this house, we clean the entire place. Even now when I go to the shops, and as soon as I come home, I go straight to the utility room. I strip off, I have a shower, I change, and then I go see my mommy. This woman had just been to the hairdresser. I don't even know where she got one. I just freaked out at her and I said, I don't want you to ever come in and see my mother again if you go and do that. I felt sick. I didn't know whether I just wanted to lie down and die. I tried ringing the Smartins, but it was cute. I was just so bad. I wasn't coping. In the house, you don't get any peace to yourself. You know, I sometimes feel like I want to run away and scream. You don't get peace to eat. You don't get peace to watch the television. And you don't get peace to answer the phone because it just goes on and on. The only reason I'm getting peace today is because my sister's with her. You just have to take things minute by minute. Because it is stressful, the behaviour. I couldn't have done it without my sister.
My name is Frank. I'm retired and widowed for the past year. I have 3 children. 2 are grown. I care for my 11-year-old son who has a life-threatening disease and also has learning difficulties. My son got a letter from the GP to Shield and he's rarely been out. He's still grieving for his mother. He has a lot of anger issues all the time. It's a continuous thing. I don't know what would happen actually if I catch it. I don't know. My daughter's getting the shopping, so I haven't been near the shops. I haven't been this couple of months. I go to my allotment, and that's where I am now actually. Just relaxing for a couple of hours here. We are lucky compared to other people. It's been hard to cope at times. What was trying to keep my son entertained and stuff like that, and not being able to go out because the allotment was closed, so I was stuck in the house for 7 to 8 weeks. It was really difficult, stuck in the house. And not being able to go where you wanted to go, it's stressful. Plus with him having learning difficulties and stuff like that. The online educational stuff is a lot. It's a lot to overcome. It's very difficult to overcome. He doesn't want to do his homework. He just doesn't want to do it. My daughter is a carer too for my son. She's health issues too. I have a problem with her as well. She's lost an awful lot of weight. Crying because of the lockdown. It is pretty difficult, a bit of a dramatic change to your lifestyle, but on what you can and can't do, you are stuck in the house. I'm just going back and forward, wondering what to do next or what can I do. I do an awful lot of reading and cooking and different things on the phone, keeping updated with the virus. It was just 2 weeks ago we were allowed to come back to the allotment. I come every day now for a couple of hours. I do feel fear about the virus, generally for my family, but mostly for my son, because he's got that disease and that underlying condition. If he did catch it, I think it'd be pretty serious. It is a worry and stress, anxiety. The thought is always there. No matter where you go, there's signs about social distancing and you can't get away from it. But the future? Yeah. It's uncertain at this stage. The future's unpredictable. Yeah. And we'll just have to take it day by day and keep praying that the ER rate goes down and that there's less people passing away. I feel for all of them people because they didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. There's no funeral. And they had a really hard time on that death. It must have been traumatic. Absolutely horrendous situation for them. People have enough things happening to them. You never thought in your lifetime with a virus that you wouldn't see your family member before they die.
My name is Susan. I took an early retirement from my job because I have 2 disabled daughters. My eldest daughter has complex health needs and is being shielded. My husband is an essential worker and he has to go out to work throughout this whole thing. At the beginning, it was really disturbing to me because I was very anxious that he would bring it into the house. My eldest daughter would normally go to daycare 5 days a week, and she also has regular carers coming into the house. unfortunately we had to stop all of that. She's effectively an 8-month-old baby in an adult body, and she's assessed as needing 3 people to move her. So I'm doing that all by myself until my husband comes home. She needs changed 4 to 5 times a day, and all of that is hoisting and moving her. It is hard. Thank God I've had no injuries just yet. In March, when this whole thing started to unfold, the thought of 24-hour care with no support was scary, and probably the most difficult thing for me was that on the 15th of March I took sick, and I was terrified that I did have COVID and that I would give it to her. So there was no testing at that point, and I did have a cough, but it wasn't bad, and I had a slight temperature. I was trailing myself about the place, feeling ill, and trying to do everything with my daughters. So that was the hardest month. The last 14 weeks, I feel as though I've not been in the world. I've been in my house, and when I look to the winter months, I just pull the shutter down and I just stop myself from thinking about it. I did go to a family get together recently, and we were outside, but people forget the distancing, and it's very awkward. I'm nearly walking back from people, and then if you say something, they're taking it personally. Do you know what I mean? They think that I'm being over anxious or overprotective, maybe. I think if it had been when my girls were young, I would have really struggled. I'm in a much better place now than I was when they were very little. I know now that I can cope. I don't get angry, just more frustration, and the fear factor would have been the worst thing. And the first 6 weeks, it was a big fear factor for me. What would happen to my daughter if my husband or I got it? What would happen if she got it? What would happen if she was taken into hospital? Would they allow me in? What would happen if we all took it? Where would she go? All of that terrified me. I suppose you just want to protect your children at all costs, and suddenly my vulnerability was highlighted. And those scenes coming out of hospitals in Italy were just terrifying. I felt the learning disability community were just forgotten about under lockdown. Nobody thought about them. I think we were the forgotten people, and shielded people were definitely forgotten about and left. I know that I have done the best that I could, especially the first month, given that I took sick myself. As long as my 2 girls are okay, I will be okay. And that's probably the way most carers feel, actually. Our needs very much come down the list. You certainly don't meet your own needs first, that's for sure.
My name is Rachel. I'm in my 50s and I'm currently working from home part-time at the moment. I look after my mum, who lives with me also. She has dementia and other complex needs, and she does have difficulty swallowing and chokes very, very easily. She has carers coming in, I'd say, at least 4 times every day, and they have been my saving grace. And my sister comes every single day and has a cup of coffee in the yard with our mum. My mummy wasn't entitled to the shielding card under lockdown, even though she had COPD and dementia, because my GP said that her COPD wasn't severe enough. That meant that getting deliveries was quite difficult. I mean, the cars were getting us food whenever they were getting theirs. But the only reason I wanted that card was that we could get a priority delivery spot for the local shop. It wasn't until last week that they launched the Careworn card, which to me is invaluable. It only means that you don't need to queue for the shop. But when another lockdown hits, well, that card is no use to me at all, because I won't be able to leave the house. When the last lockdown hit, I was in the house for 10 weeks because I wanted to keep my mum safe. The only people in the house was the cars and myself. I wasn't setting my foot through the door for about over 10 weeks. And living with a dementia person for 10 weeks, well, do you know what that's like? It is like living in jail. And I'll be honest, when week 8 hit, I was struggling. It's not until you become a carer that, you realise what isolation is. It's the depression and the loneliness. And in fact, well, I had it all. And that isn't something that you should be proud of, because when you start caring for someone, that's when you feel the anxiety, and that's when you're left on your own and you begin to realise that you're battling with the people that should be looking after you. And I'll be sleeping with one eye open during lockdown. Some people say, I don't know if it's our subconsciousness or whatever, or the worry of it, but I haven't been able to sleep for about 1 to 2 weeks. And my biggest fear of it all is, well, what if I get it, or, my mum gets it? What if she gets it and she has to go to hospital in an ambulance all by herself? Because that would be her finished. And what if I get it? Who's going to look after her? Or, matter of fact, where am I going to go? And if I get it, will she be with me? Because she follows me everywhere. And I'm trying to look to the future, but I do have to plan. I'm trying to stay positive, but nobody knows when the lockdown's going to come, and you do need to plan for that. And some people think that they're untouchable, and let me tell you that nobody is. And I just don't think that the carers are getting the support that they need. I really, really don't. And we know the billions that the government are saving, and the carers are not getting the support that they need. I just don't think they are.